Hey kiddos, for today's activity, we're going to make a painting of a seascape with boats. You're going to need a few different colored paints as well as some paper. So more precisely, you're going to need a larger piece of paper to protect your table, a smaller piece of paper to make your painting, a palette to mix your paints. So in order to do our boat painting, we're going to need a few colors. So blue, green, yellow, red, black, brown, and some orange. You're also going to need a glass of water to rinse your paintbrushes, a few different paintbrushes, and a towel to rinse your fingers to get off any of the paint that might have been left over. So now we're going to take our first sheet of paper here, and we're going to use some blue, some dark blue, and we're going to mix the colors together to basically be able to make all different shades of blue since we're drawing a stormscape. So our sky is going to be gray, our water is going to be kind of like a dark, aggressive blue. We're going to use some yellow for the boats, some green also for the detailing of the boats, a little bit of red also for some of the sails on the sailboats, and a little black, which is going to help us mix the other colors to make them look a little bit darker. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start with our big paintbrush. Take some water, make sure that it's nice and clean, and we're going to do the bottom half as the water, and the upper half is going to be the stormy sky. So take a little bit of water here, and you really want to make sure that your brush is nice and clean. We want to make sure that there's no kind of remnants of other colors. So I'm taking a little bit of my blue here, and I'm drawing a line straight across. So this is going to be where my ocean is. Take some more blue, back and forth, back and forth. You can make it look kind of rough with your brush strokes because the water is definitely kind of aggressive with the storm coming through. Back and forth, back and forth. And later on in the activity, we're going to add some waves to this so it looks really, really aggressive with all the wind and the currents and kind of the intensity of the storm. It's going to be kind of a really scary place to be. So make sure it's really nice and blue. Take your paintbrush. You can add a little bit more water. And now we're going to clean the brush so we can start focusing on our sky. So the sky should be gray, but since we don't have gray paint, what we'll have to do is make some gray. So to do that, we're going to take a smaller brush and we're going to mix black and white together, which is going to create gray. Let's dip our paintbrush in water, grab some white. We're going to mix it in here with a touch of black to start mixing it together. So I'm adding a little bit more white than black. And then if we want it to be darker, we just keep adding black to our mixture. Perfect, that looks really nice and gray. So now that we've done our mixture, adding a bit of water and all of the upper half here of my piece of paper, just go ahead and make it gray, 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 gray. Nice and gray, back and forth. And again, you can have the rough brush strokes as well because the sky is angry, the ocean is angry. It's kind of this intense scene where the boats are rocking back and forth and a storm is coming in. So add a little bit of water to spread through the paint. But again, you don't want to add too much water or else it's going to curl up on the sides of the paper. Great. Keep adding that gray in. So I think it's always good to know if you never have gray paint, just mix a little black and white. If you want to make dark blue, you can add a little white and black and dark blues. And go in there and get all the little white spaces out. Perfect. So now that our sky and that our ocean is complete, we have to create the oceanscape. So what does that mean? It means we have to make a few boats. So I'm going to take my skinny little paintbrush here. If you don't have a skinny paintbrush, don't worry. And I'm going to start with some black, some white, and some red to make our first sailboat. So first I'm going to grab my red here to make my first boat. So you could pretty much make it anywhere. I'm going to make it right here on the right-hand side. So it's going to look like basically the bottom half, the steerum, and then the wind sails. So I'm going to take my red, and here I'm just making the bottom half of my boat, which basically looks like almost like a half moon. And I'm coloring it in with my red. I'm going to show you in just a minute what that looks like. You can even put the video on pause if you want to look at the shape in closer detail. Perfect. So this little boat is definitely going to get rocked. So now I'm going to make the upper part of my boat, which is going to hold my sails up. And this is going to be black. So I'm taking my paintbrush, adding a little black here, and just doing a line straight down. Great. Nice and straight to hold up the sails. And I'm going to clean my brush. And you can make the sails and the boat, whatever color you like. I just really wanted the boat to kind of pop out of the blue sea background. So that's why the red looks really nice and fierce. So now I'm going to take some of my white paint, dab that onto your paintbrush, and we're going to do the sails. Boom. So from the very top of the black, just start painting downwards in a triangular shape. Have it border right alongside the red of the boat. And add a little bit more paint to fill it in. Just make sure that you don't cover too much of the red or black part of your boat. Perfect. Nice. You can keep adding a little bit of white of this area, just because the blue is so powerful behind that you might need to add a little bit more white to make it really nice and bright. Perfect. So now we have to add the steerum to our boat. So I'm going to take my paintbrush. It's going to kind of look like circular, round, and then it's going to dip down into the water. So here I'm kind of just anchoring it out this way, right at the end of the boat. Down here into the water. And that's what's going to help us drive the boat. Perfect. Let's grab our paintbrush. Grab a little bit more red. And here we're going to make another sail, the frontal sail, which is going to be really nice and billowy because it's capturing the wind. Perfect. And I'm painting all of that in red. So it's going to match the lower part of the boat. So a nice thick coat of red. Nice and thick throughout. Perfect. So you can tell there's a lot of wind going through this boat because there's a storm coming. So the sails are definitely not calm. Perfect. So now we can draw our second boat. So I'm going to clean all of my paintbrushes because I've been mixing a lot of colors together. Get this one cleaned up. I'm going to make this one yellow. I want it to look really different from my red one. And I'm going to make him not too far from his neighbor, right along here. So I'm going to start with the lower part of the boat, just like that. So a flat surface kind of swoops down underneath. Color it in. Perfect. Now I also have to use my little black paint here to do the straight line down to carry the sails. And you could make the sails any color you want, but I'm going to make mine white again. I want it to kind of match with my first boat. So you just draw a triangle straight down the right-hand side and over, and you can fill it in. Awesome. Now we're going to take our black paint again to draw the little motor. Perfect. It's looking really good so far, you guys. So now I'm going to take another paintbrush. And I'm going to work on my larger third boat, which is going to be bright green. So this is kind of more like a tanker boat that transports things. So whereas my sailboats, I think there's kind of just sailors on them, or maybe it's someone's personal sailboat. This is like a big old tanker that carries things. So I'm making his shape here, kind of like a rectangle. At the right-hand side, we're going to fill him in with a little bit of a lighter green. Fill him in so he's nice and green. And again, he could be any color. I just think the green looks out really nice from the blue. Kind of a military color. Then we're going to add a little bit of black detailing here to our big tanker boat. Awesome. So here you can tell he's holding cargo. Could be like boxes. So I just made a grid right up top. And that's his little smoke engine on the left-hand side. Perfect. So our boats are looking pretty great, except for we need to show now that there's definitely a storm coming with lots of waves. There's a lot of aggression in the water. So if you take your white paintbrush and add a little bit of white foam right in front of your boats, all in the same direction, it's really going to look like there's some movement in the water and there's waves going around. So now I'm going to take my dark blue with my skinny paintbrush, and I'm going to start making some waves in the water, like what we talked about in the beginning. So take your skinny little paintbrush. You could also use black and light blue to make your dark blue, and kind of just brush it along the water like that, like make little peaks to look like waves, just like that. And it's going to start to look much more stormy in that water. Because all of the sailors on those boats, they're kind of freaking out. There's a storm coming. There's definite movement in there. Awesome. So now the last thing we have to do are some kind of really dark and angry black clouds. So I'm taking my paintbrush, popping it into my black paint, a little bit of water. And let's start making those angry clouds. Just make kind of like a big billowy, angry black shape here. You can make a few of them. You can do a few small ones. I'm going to do kind of two really big angry ones here. A little bit more paint to fill them in. Awesome. Now we can kind of tell where those waves are coming from. It's coming from this big angry sky. You could even, add a lightning bolt or two. But so far, it looks great, you guys. Great job. So little guys, here's our awesome stormy boat painting. I hope you had a really fun time making it today. I'd love to see all of your paintings, so please send them in to tutokid.com. Hope to see you soon!